Insane Karen took my husband's life and ruined his memorial. I've been apart from my husband for a couple of years now, and he's since moved on and found a new girlfriend. Well, he recently passed away, and the cause is unclear. But his girlfriend keeps changing her story. I also found out that just before he passed, she heard him telling his brother that he was in a transitional period. Now it seems she might have bumped him off intentionally, and she's not stopping there. My husband Landon and I separated 2 years ago. At first, we hated each other. It got better this past year. We spoke, we're friends. We both still loved each other. He passed on September 15th. As his wife, no one would speak to his girlfriend Avery. She called me, upset that no one would speak to her. Not the coroner, not the police, no one. After speaking to the coroner, I can understand why she doesn't want me to be the one in charge. Avery has given 2 separate stories regarding his passing. This is also the second time she's gone through this exact same situation. 3 years ago with her deceased husband, and now mine. So I'm already on edge. I've spoken to his family, and they don't really know her and have only spoken to her via Facebook and FaceTime. They do not get along very well, and she hasn't really wanted to get to know them. I don't know much about Avery, just what I've been able to learn in the past 4 days of speaking with her. I know she's hurting, I know she's grieving. I'm taking this a lot harder than I thought I would be, and maybe I shouldn't be. I don't know. I'm not sure how to handle this. Avery's mother called me the day I found out about Landon's passing and asked me to check my life insurance policy to make sure it would still pay. This was before the coroner gave a reason, and before I even mentioned the life insurance. The death certificate says unknown, pending investigation, or something to that effect. I don't have it yet. She's trying to push us all out of every aspect of his memorial, even though I'm paying for it. I dropped the policy after a year, and she's going against Landon's wishes. He didn't want a burial, but rather a cremation and a small memorial. Avery sent a message yesterday asking me to see if the morgue would give me Landon's thumbprint. She wouldn't give a reason. She wants to have the memorial at her church, with only pictures of the 2 of them, not his family or me and him. She didn't understand why his family and friends would be there, since she doesn't know them. She wants me to ask for a lock of his hair. She wants to display his ashes in the same Amish box that her husband was in. I said no. I think that's just distasteful. Now I'm being called and messaged by Avery and her family, saying how I'm trying to take over. I'm not. I did ask for her input and help, and they say that I shouldn't have a say in any of this. I countered with the fact that I'm paying for it all, and that I am still his wife and have a 20-year history with Landon. They argued that this wasn't about me. It's not, it's about Landon. But they say it's about Avery and Landon, their 1-year life together, and I have nothing to do with it. They don't know why I'm so upset over him passing, or why I'm involved, and they say I'm a jerk for not honoring Avery's wishes and letting her have what she wants for her boyfriend. Am I the jerk in this situation? This is a tough one, because while this story is unbelievable in a number of ways, there's something cold about how many people are willing to come right out and accuse this original poster of lying. Being doubtful is one thing, but if there's even a chance that you're speaking to someone who just lost their husband, antagonizing them is in pretty poor taste. The commenters who doubt the story mainly doubt it because of how extreme it all seems. Some also doubt that the coroner would give her all of that info on Avery, and a few just don't understand why OP would bring this to Reddit instead of a healthier support system. The bigger issue, which a surprising number of people have ignored, is the thumbprint request. In her post, OP says that Avery gave no reason for wanting the thumbprint. She then posted a screenshot of the conversation. In that screenshot, Avery says very clearly that she wants the thumbprint for a shoulder tattoo. So that part doesn't quite line up. I'm honestly not sure if it's worse to think that someone would ask Reddit for advice on dealing with a potential killer, or to think that someone would have the gall to make something like that up and try to pass it off as the truth. Sometimes that's the catch with these stories. Whether you believe it or not, it still paints a pretty bleak picture of human nature. Let's move on to something lighter. My girlfriend called me a redneck for drinking 1 beer. Recently, my girlfriend and I went out to the East Coast to visit her parents. We've been dating for almost a year, and things have gotten serious, so they wanted to meet me. She and I come from somewhat different worlds. I grew up hunting and fishing in the rural northern Midwest, while she comes from a well-to-do New England family. But we met in the city where our adult lives and careers have both led us. Anyway, we both traveled to the East Coast to visit her parents. I first met them at their home, and it went well. But we were to meet for dinner at a casual but nice seafood restaurant on the Atlantic seaboard just a couple of hours later. I felt a little intimidated, but I wore a nice outfit to dinner, and her parents seemed to like me. We got along well. Her parents first ordered us some raw oysters and paired a nice glass of white wine to go with it. Raw oysters aren't my thing, but I ate them to be polite and drank the wine. But when it came time to order our entrees, I had settled on a fried seafood platter. I had already looked at what was on tap, and when the server asked what I wanted to drink with my meal, I ordered a tall Coors Light. There were a ton of options on tap, and maybe I should have been a little more adventurous, but it had been a long day. I just wanted something wet and cold that wouldn't challenge my taste buds. The dinner went just fine, but afterward, when we were alone, my girlfriend asked me why I had ordered a Coors Light out of every single thing on the menu. I told her that I just didn't feel like having anything else, and she said that I had embarrassed her in front of her parents, that they had taken us out, and that I ordered the one REDNECK beer that they had on reserve just in case a redneck showed up. I think that she was being mean, but maybe I didn't really read the room. It actually sounds like OP read the room just fine. There's no sign here that the parents were judgmental about his order. It's a refreshing break from all the evil in-law stories on Reddit. In this case, they just seem happy that their daughters found a nice guy. The daughter is the one who sounds stuck up, and to be fair, that might not be the case 364 days out of the year. It can be stressful to introduce your significant other to your parents, so there's every possibility she was just overthinking her concerns. They've been together for a year, so I'd hope this OP would know by now if she judges him for where he comes from. If this is an ongoing thing, however, then it starts to look like a red flag. The one other thing I'll say is that while OP's not the jerk either way, he also shouldn't feel bad about not being more adventurous. This was his first time meeting her parents, and they were paying the bill. It's better to pick something he enjoys so he can relax and avoid looking potentially ungrateful if he picks something he doesn't like too much. He played every part of this the right way. His girlfriend just needs to calm down a bit. If you made it this far in the video, consider liking and subscribing for more videos coming. Husband wants to buy a new house just for his estranged son. I married my husband Joe 4 years ago. I have an 8-year-old son from a previous relationship, and we have another son on the way. We live in a 3-bedroom in a school district that is hard to find housing in, but it's one of the best in the area. I love our home. I love the school. I love the neighborhood. Here's where our issues begin. 3 months ago, Joe received a friend request on Facebook from a 13-year-old boy with our last name. The resemblance was insane. It was like looking at a picture of Joe at that age. At first we thought he could be a cousin, but Joe did a little digging. The kid's mom was an ex of Joe's, and the age lined up perfectly. Joe accepted the friend request and almost immediately got the message we were expecting. My name is Junior, I'm 13, and my mom Jenny says you are my dad. Messages and calls were sent. A DNA test was done. The child is Joe's. This was fine with us. Joe was upset that he wasn't told sooner and that he missed his son's entire life. But we started visiting and talking to him constantly. We are now at the point where he has spent a few nights at our home. We absolutely love him, and he's a great addition to our family. On to the main issue. Joe wants his son to have his own room. Fine by me. I just figured we would redo what was going to be the nursery into his room, and the baby would share a room with us. It seemed like the most logical thing to do. Joe doesn't like this, though. He wants all 3 boys to have their own rooms. He started house hunting, but all he has found was houses outside of the boys' school district. Both of our sons are in the same school until next year. This was not okay with me. I told Joe we have plenty of time before we would absolutely need a bigger house, and we could spend that time finding one that my son, and eventually our youngest, could live in without having to change schools. This sparked an argument between Joe and I because he doesn't think it's reasonable. I told him I was putting my foot down. I'm not moving until we can find a house in our school district. Joe is now refusing to talk to me. He thinks I don't care about any of the kids, while I think I'm thinking about all 3 of them. Am I the jerk? Wait, so are Jenny and Joe related? Why does Junior have Joe's last name if Jenny didn't plan on telling Joe or Junior about their relationship for 13 years? Where does he go to school that not one mother has been enough of a gossip this whole time to bring up the fact that this single woman and her son have different last names? I know plenty of people who have different last names than their mothers, but they usually know why. It's not just an unanswered mystery that nobody thinks to question until junior high. I'm not even saying this is necessarily fake, but if anyone in the comments can think of a rational explanation, please share it. In any case, I can't see why OP would be the jerk here. Junior isn't living with them. He's just spent a few occasional nights there. It doesn't even make sense to have the baby sleep with the parents just so a room can sit there empty for most of the week. If Junior's only coming over occasionally, sharing a room with the 8-year-old shouldn't be that big a deal. I do remember being 13, and I know that kids at that age tend to start exploring their bodies in ways that demand privacy. But he has his own room at Jenny's, so there's plenty of time for that. Either way, it's ridiculous to make one kid change schools just so another can stay over once or twice a week. The problem isn't that OP isn't thinking of any of the kids. The problem is that Joe isn't thinking about anyone but Junior. And to be clear, I don't think that makes Joe the jerk here either, because he's obviously reacting to a lot of shock and guilt right now. But he needs to reel it in and come back down to earth. What do you think? Would you have the baby sleep with the parents, or have Junior sleep with the 8-year-olds? Or would you go ahead and buy a 4-bedroom house? Let us know in the comments how you deal with this addition to the family. People won't stop asking inappropriate questions about my personal life. I'm in high school, and while I haven't told many people, except my best friends, I'm a lesbian. You wouldn't guess it from looking at me. I'm a cheerleader in the South, with long blonde hair and a pretty femme style. But something freaking weird has been going on since before I even came to terms with my orientation. Ever since I was a little kid, my parents' friends would talk about me being a heartbreaker, or how I'd be a good wife, or ask if I was dating any of the football players when I started cheer. In middle school, for F's sake, and my parents were fine with it. It always gave me the ick, but I only think I really understood why when I came to terms with being lesbian. Like, it's honestly freaking wild when bigoted people in my town say gay people are trying to influence their kids to make them gay. Like, have y'all heard yourself spending the last 15 years trying to make a girl straight? Anyway, I wanted to start pushing back on it, but I'm not ready to out myself to everyone. So I started calling it out as inappropriate, but not giving more context. One time recently, my aunt's friend was asking, "Are you dating Joe?" Then when I said, "No, he's my best friend," and nothing more, she said that we would have cute babies. Like, what the actual freak? So I made it as uncomfortable as possible and said, "Please remember that I'm a minor. It's not appropriate for you to speculate on or comment on my intimate life." And I walked away. A little bit later, some of my dad's friends were joking about how the trade school I want to take classes at next summer vacation would be great for me to find a man at. I just stayed straight-faced and said, "Excuse me, I'm a minor, and I'm your friend's daughter. It's not appropriate for you to be asking me about my dating life." I just kept doing that. Whenever someone said something icky, assuming I was straight, or that I was going to marry or get pregnant with a man, I just tell them bluntly that I'm a minor and that this line of discussion is inappropriate. My parents heard about this from several of their friends and got upset with me for accusing their friends of asking inappropriate questions. They said that it's kind of a normal joke to ask teens about that kind of stuff and that nobody means much by it. I said that it was not normal. I don't just go up to their friends like, "Who ya bangin'?" Then my mom grounded me for backtalk. But for real, I think I have a point. It is weird and uncomfortable and not something I want to be hearing from adults I'm not related to. Heck, I don't even want to hear it from family. I feel like the talk of me having babies with my friends is super freaking weird from anyone. Am I the jerk for being so blunt about not liking those questions? The OP is right about some things, but potentially wrong about others. First of all, you don't have to be gay to feel uncomfortable about personal questions, especially when people are pairing you up with a friend you've already told them you don't see that way. I wouldn't say those people are actually pressuring her to be straight. There's a wide line between an ignorant assumption and legitimate coercion. These lines of questioning don't amount to conversion therapy. That's why it's a little surprising to see so many comments calling these adults creepy. One comment did put things into perspective, noting that many adults ask teens about dating because they simply don't know what else there is to talk about with a teenager. In a year or two, the conversation will probably switch to asking where OP wants to go to college and what she wants to major in. because at that point, that will be the only thing they know to ask about. The fact that it isn't malicious doesn't mean you aren't allowed to be uncomfortable or set boundaries, but you can do it without flipping everybody off. Sometimes life is just a lot easier if you don't automatically assume the worst in everyone. Not all of these adults mentioned babies, and some might have accepted her fully if they knew she wasn't looking for a man. She's still in the closet, so that's a bridge she'll have to cross later. Besides, if you wanted to assume the worst about everyone, you could point at least a couple of spirit fingers at OP for the suggestion that being attractive is on par with not looking gay. Butch women really don't rule that demographic as pervasively as pop culture and bad jokes would have you think. What do you think? Was she out of line for assuming all dating questions were inappropriate? Was there a better way to handle the situation? Leave a comment and let us know how you would have responded in this situation. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.